Our next speaker will be Jenny Kast. Jenny will be presenting the winning proposal from the Persuasive Speaking Manual. She has requested 7 to 9 minutes for her speech. In 2016, Jenny will have the opportunity to meet with business owners and leaders around the Valley to raise funds for her growing nonprofit organization. This morning is a practice run in introducing the focus areas of the nonprofit and making the ask. In actual meetings with business leaders, she will have a booklet with pictures, additional information about the programs, and an in-depth financial breakdown. This speech is the basic overview from which she will be able to answer questions or dive deeper if the potential donor is interested. The winning proposal, Jenny Kast.
Good morning, and thank you so much for meeting with me today. My name is Jenny Kast, and I'm the director of the Children's Home Project. I'm excited to get the opportunity to share with you more about our organization, the impact that we're making on children's homes in Honduras, and the ways that your company can help us to change the lives of Honduran children. What has become my life's work began unexpectedly. 6 years ago, my husband and I were living in Honduras when the director of the organization we were working with asked me to go check out a government-run children's home in San Pedro Sula. This is the second largest city in the country. Honestly, my first reaction was that I had no interest. We already had so much on our plate, why add more? But because he was our boss, we of course said, oh yeah, sure, that'd be great, we'll go do it. The first 2 days that I spent there, I made a beeline for the babies. I had seen the older kids, they were very dirty, it was out of control, and it was not something that I could handle. This government home that we had gone to is everything that you have heard of when you hear about orphanages in third world countries. The kids didn't have enough food, there were not nearly enough employees, and there was almost no hope. But then on the third day, I was essentially forced to spend some time with the older kids. And I watched as all afternoon long, a child named Richard was bullied over and over again, while an employee just watched. Finally, I could take it no more whenever he started fighting with one of the boys, and I intervened. The employee just sent for the oldest kids to come deal with this problem. And each child grabbed one of Richard's arms or legs and started dragging him upstairs to the boys' dorm. When we got there, all of the boys were waiting, and they just started sitting on him and kicking him and punching him. Eventually, I was able to get all the kids out of the room, and my husband and I sat with him as he sobbed and said over and over again, I don't want to be here. I want my mommy, and God, please help me. Those 3 sentences that Richard said over and over again turned my world upside down. I couldn't go back to the work that I had been doing with Heart to Honduras now that I knew the level of suffering this child was experiencing, this defenseless child. So initially my goal was simply to get him moved from the government home to a better privately run children's home. Then I'd go back to my life before this experience. But soon after he was moved, I realized that, yes, it was so much better. The food was edible, the employees were kind, the kids did more playing with each other than fighting. But the homes, even though they were able to provide the basics for the kids, they lacked the resources to help the kids overcome the trauma they had experienced. They lacked the tools to give to the kids that they could have success in their future. Realizing this is what inspired me to start the Children's Home Project. What we do is we come alongside existing children's homes and we bring the kids love, safety, nourishment, and hope. Now, before Richard was in a government home, he was living on the street. Keep in mind, when I met him, he was 10 years old. A 10-year-old child, alone and homeless on the streets of the murder capital of the world. As our work has grown and morphed, the primary kids that we work with are kids who either currently or formerly live on the street. And there are lots of factors that lead to a child becoming homeless, but typically it's from either extreme poverty in the home, abuse experienced by the family, or drug use as a means to escape all of this. So what we do is we strive to get the kids off of the street, and then we help them become stable in order to then give them the opportunities they need to have the future that they deserve. The way that we do this is we focus on 3 areas: education, mental health, and relationships. 84 cents of every dollar donated goes straight to one of these 3 areas. Not surprisingly, when a child is on the street, his access to education is non-existent. So we'll often have 12-year-olds who haven't even finished 1st grade. And if this child can't read or write, if he never learns a trade or an occupation, it's guaranteed that this cycle of poverty will just continue, and future generations will feel the same abandonment, abuse, and homelessness. So we work to provide a basic education for all of the kids that we work with. And then for the ones that show the most discipline and drive, we provide them with scholarships to private schools. Our second piece is mental health. Every single child we work with has experienced some sort of trauma. And sure, there are some kids that are resilient, but the vast majority need help to overcome whatever happened that brought them to the street in the first place, and then what they experienced when they were on the street. A child needs access to a counselor to unlock his painful past, overcome what has happened, and move forward. And then our third piece is relationships. This is the area that our staff and volunteers really dive deeply into. Every child in the world, including the US, needs to have a parent, a relative, or a mentor, someone that they can rely on, that can comfort them, encourage them as they're growing. But none of our kids have a parent or a relative that does this. And most of the adults in their lives are paid to be there. You cannot navigate the trials and tribulations of adolescence without someone on the sidelines encouraging and guiding you. This is what our staff and volunteers do. When a child runs away from a home, our street outreach worker is able to find him, and because of her relationship with him, she's able to convince him to go back. When one of our 12-year-olds with a 1st grade education gets super frustrated about how hard this learning and this reading and writing thing is, throws a tantrum and climbs under a table, Franklin literally climbs in after her, listens to her vent, and it's because of their relationship that he can patiently and persistently encourage her to keep going. To support all of these things I've been talking about, our fundraising goal for 2016 is $200,000. As I said before, 84 cents of every dollar donated goes straight to our programs in Honduras. Your contribution will help all of these things that I've talked about today a reality for more children in Honduras. Sadly, in the last 5 years, 5 kids that we know have been killed when they return to the street. In some extreme cases, you're helping us save lives. For the vast majority, your financial intervention today will help to stop the cycle of poverty and despair. So that's why I'm asking for a donation of $10,000 to take these kids who have come from nothing and show them that they can make something of themselves. Madam Toastmaster.